Hello and welcome to Wake Up Our Faith in Business. This is the second hour of our show dedicated to how do we live out faith between Sundays, where we spend the majority of our time, which is in business. In business, as you might want to say, which is fine. We're fine with that. But Kevin Adams, Matt Ham, we're the co-founders of YouPrint, and this is kind of a new thing for us to be able to highlight people, stories, inspiration, those in this community and communities everywhere that are pressing into living out what God's doing in their life and how He's expressing it through their gift sets as a way to keep you inspired and encouraged to pursue the dreams on your heart and let God unfold that for you. This show is made possible by our corporate partners. We want to make sure we thank them. One of those being Chris Riley, our good friend Chris Riley, and the team at Fountain Financial Associates. They are in the business of giving clients and families a better life, and say they're in the business of keeping promises. Make sure you give Chris and the team at Fountain Financial Associates a call if you have any financial questions or needs, 910-256-8882. As you can see, we're joined in studio by Mr. Stephen Sasser, Dr. Stephen Sasser, right?
That's right.
That's right. Dude, you work for that. We're going to call you doctor.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, but yeah, it is Dr. Sasser.
That's it. Absolutely.
Very big deal.
It's a very big deal. We're not doctors.
Yeah, no way.
Just dudes. Oh, man. But that's right. Dr. Stephen Sasser and his wife are the owners, operators of Tidal Wellness here in Mayfair, right here in Wilmington. My wife and I had the privilege to walk with you guys last year, use your services, and was just so impacted by kind of how you're navigating this, Stephen, what you...
Insurance and paying every time you come in for a visit is it's a monthly fee. And with that monthly fee, we give our patients direct access to us. They get our personal phone number. They can text us. They can call us. And then for visits, there's no copays. There's no extra fees. It's just if you need us, we're there for that month. And then by not taking insurance, it gives us a lot of flexibility to offer cheaper labs, cheaper medications that we give right out of our office. So there can be a lot of financial benefits for people. And it's also just more of a relationship that we get to have with our patients, which is the biggest piece to us.
Yeah, super cool. And what I love about it, too, is you guys take a holistic approach to medicine and health. And, you know, again, this is a Christian show. I mean, we're all believers here, so that's what this is about, too. So talk a little bit about that and how you and your wife and integrate that into your business.
Sure. So we use the term integrative family medicine, and there's a lot of different terms you might hear out there, but we like the term integrative because what we do is we use both traditional medicine, so that's drawing labs and ordering tests and x-rays and doing medications, but we also take into account some of those other modalities or some Eastern medicine modalities such as acupuncture, massage, but also essential oils, herbs, and that sort of thing. The reason that we do that is, one, because they work. We used not to know, or there wasn't the evidence there, and now there is evidence. So we do use evidence to guide everything that we do, and there's some things that don't work, and we don't recommend those things. But we're able to use all those different modalities, educate ourselves. And one piece is that they're so separated in the current system. So it's either you're going to a doctor or you're going to something else. And a lot of times the doctors may say, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's a good idea. You can do it if you want to, but they don't really know much about it. They don't know what it can do, what it can't do. They don't know some of the safety things with it. So, you know, essential oils, people are going to use essential oils whether the doctor is okay with it or not. And so we've taken it upon ourselves to educate ourselves so we know what medications interact with certain oils. So if nothing else, it's a safety thing that we can guide our patients on. But there's also the integrative piece of emotional health, mental health, that's not just physical health. And so we are open with our patients about our faith and are able to talk with them about it and recommend things like, you know, I don't necessarily speak to my patients in a meaningful way. We may not have that best connection that maybe a Joyce Meyer sermon might do, that she speaks a lot to anxiety, depression, you know, through a biblical sense, and that can help my patients out a lot besides just medicine. So we're able to also know all those resources and help to guide our patients that way as well.
Yeah. Kev, you anything?
Always. First of all, Stephen Sasser is a really cool name. I like that.
It flows, man.
We're friends already. No, I think, man, what a great way to be God's expression in such a needed area. It's toxic. And, I'm a 52-year-old guy, been around the block and done all kind of things. What you're doing is so needed, not just in this community, but everywhere. It's time for that. So, man, thank you for honoring God and just going, because it does take courage. You're pushing the envelope, and there's some really good folks out there that are kind of moving in that direction. But anyway, so I'm really glad to know you, and we need to engage your services as well. My wife and I absolutely believe where you're coming from. So my question would be, Well, first of all, let me put some context around it. Something you touched on. It might not be a Joyce Meyer sermon, but you are still engaging in evangelism and discipleship through your gift set, through the opportunity God's given you. A lot of people think it means preaching from the desk, beating people with a Bible at the office. You're an example of how to do that through your gift set. So if you talk about that and your heart about it, that kind of thing, we'll do it again when we come back.
Yeah.
So we really like having relationships with our patients. And that's one of the biggest, that's how you have trust. That's how people trust you and to follow your advice. That's how you really know them, to be able to guide them the best way. And working in a traditional system that we have done, I wasn't able to treat patients the way that I wanted to be treated, how I would want to be treated. And I've been to doctors myself and not been treated the way that I would like to be treated. And usually it's not the doctor. Usually it's not the nurse. It's the system that they're in that doesn't allow them the time that they really need to devote to you. Doctors right now in the traditional system, they spend 70% of their time doing paperwork, not having their hands on a patient or talking with a patient. And that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so our model has allowed us to spend time with our patients, to spend 30, 60 minutes talking with our patients, getting to know our patients. They text us, they call us, even not with questions, just with good celebratory things sometimes. So it's a relationship, and that's what we really strive for.
Jesus was into relationships, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
It's amazing. It's amazing to think that he was actually into relationships, and so we should model that in our work.
What a thought, man. Wow.
I love it, Stephen, because and just you and your wife too. What I think is beautiful about it is you are family, and so you're navigating with other families, and so it has this really family feel. I know that my wife would be able to text your wife, and that relationship develops and so forth. It's just, it really, I speak to that from experience, and that's something that we experience that's very powerful, to be able to have those connection points, because it's so needed in business. One of the things that we say often is that Jesus would have said, hey man, it's not personal, it's just business.
He wouldn't have said
that. Yeah, that's why he wouldn't have. Did I say he would have?
Yeah.
Oh, well, slap me.
All right.
Slap me. Jesus would have never
never said that.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
But we walk around.
Everything's personal at some point.
We walk around going, well, it's just the system, and, I'm sorry, but this is just the way it's got to be, and that's garbage.
Yeah. Yeah. How are we doing on time here?
Yeah, we got about a minute for the break. And after the break, I want to jump into this fighting the status quo. That's the part of this that I love. It's just like this little rebel.
We love that, man. Push the envelope, break it down.
Just going upstream.
So we got a few seconds here, but I want you to when we come back, I guess, get into how how you chose to do this by faith, and how your heart really led you to do it. I'm guessing, but so jump into that.
Yeah. So, Stephen, before we go to break, share real quick how folks can connect with you guys.
Sure. So our website's the best way. So www.tidalwellness.com. You can also give us a call, 910-302-8002. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, so you can follow us there as well.
Tidal Wellness, Tidal Wellness. And this is Dr. Stephen Sasser, the guest in studio today for the second hour of our show, which is Faith in Business. Wake up our faith in business. We appreciate you guys tuning in and turning on here. We're going to come back after the break with more kind of inspiration from Dr. Sasser, just about how he got this started, how he stepped into his dream as a way to encourage you guys to do the same. We want to invite you to participate. You can connect with us, info@youprint.life. We'll be back for more right after this. Hello and welcome back to another segment of Wake Up Our Faith in Business. This is for those of you who are in businesses, leadership positions, or entrepreneurs looking to integrate the power of God into where you spend the majority of your time, and that is in your businesses. And so we have interviews and encouragement and teaching to help you do that in a powerful and profound way. Today we're joined live with Dr. Stephen Sasser. He and his wife are the owners and creators of Tidal Wellness, which is a fantastic model. Stephen kind of broke into that in the first hour, or the first segment. But I want to, Stephen, I have a question, but before we do that, I want to recognize our corporate partners for making this possible. One of those corporate partners is Chad Honeycutt and the Honeycutt Group. This is a family-owned and operated insurance brokerage firm right here in Wilmington with more than 10 plus years of experience. Chad and his team are happy to help with any of your insurance needs, home, auto, life insurance. Feel free to give them a call, 910-338-1773. So, Dr. Sasser, Kevin had asked for you to expound upon kind of how you got into this. How did you follow that thing that God put in your heart? Kevin, add whatever you need to, but I wanted to re-bring that up.
Sure. So kind of as I mentioned earlier, we were in a system where we didn't get to treat patients the way that we wanted to be treated. And to give some examples of that, you'd want to do certain things. I remember one place we were working, my wife wanted to order an HIV test on a patient, and the administration told her no, and said, we don't do that here. And we're like, we don't understand. Like, the patient needs it. Like, what's the big deal? Like, and what it was, she was putting the stigma on it that society had put on it, that it's not a big deal, or that it was a big deal, but it shouldn't have been. And they're like, they should go to the health department. We're like, no, we can treat this. We're caring for them. We do it all the time. Like, why are you stopping us? We want to spend more time with patients, but I always had two patients waiting on me in two other rooms while I was seeing the patient, and I'm just sitting there looking at the clock the whole time. Like, okay, I gotta cut this patient off. I mean, they're trying to tell me the story, but I can't listen to it. I don't have time. I've got to find a way to cut them off so that I can finish the visit so I can get to the next person. And it's just, we just weren't caring. We weren't being able to care the way that we wanted to, and that bothered us. Kind of one thing that I always think about when we're making business decisions, there was, I've heard this sermon done couple different ways, but I think Stuart Hall did it the best, if you've heard him speak. But a sermon about channels, basically TV channels, and how there's all these different channels. And so, like, we have our sports channel, and you watch sports on that channel, right? And so then we have the Food Network, which we all love, and then we watch food on that channel. And then we have, movie channels, and there's all these different channels, and they all have a different purpose. And that's how we tend to act in society. So when you're at work, you're being business. And when you're at church, you're acting like you would at church. And when you're playing on your flag football team, you're acting like you're supposed to in sports. But that's not how we're supposed to act. We need to pick a channel and stay on that channel no matter the context or situation in life that we're on. And that's what I think about when we're making business decisions, when we're treating patients, is, what am I doing here? Am I behaving the same way I would to people I care about, to people I love? If I'm not doing the right thing. And so there's business decisions that we could make that would maybe be more advantageous, but they're not in line with that channel that we've picked.
Man,
integrity.
It's courage, integrity, vulnerability, humility, and empathy. It's all one thing, all lived out. It's Jesus lived out through what you guys are doing in his version through you. It's beautiful, man. But that takes courage. you make those decisions. They're not about the dollar. They're about really, really loving on somebody through that means. And gosh, we just want to promote that. Please check these guys out. What a blessing. So anyway, lots more questions. But
I love that that piece of integrity and being
more of this.
Unwilling to yield. Well, I think, we're at a place in culture where we just need to see the power of God lived out through others.
That's right.
And that's what we want to highlight.
That's right.
And that's the common kind of heart here. Stephen, one of the things that I cannot shy away from is how there was this system in place that you knew you didn't, it didn't feel completely right to you. And stepping out, it looked very risky, I would imagine. I mean, people are going, what are y'all doing? What do you mean an integrative wellness practice and a membership thing? You're like, what is that? So talk about the rocks that people threw at you, choosing to follow what you knew God had placed in your heart for you and your wife, and kind of how God was faithful in the process of bringing you to where you are now.
Sure. I think, those rocks are still being thrown. I feel like when you step outside the status quo, it's scary to do. There's risk. And this business, it's a family business. And so we are invested our entire family into it. And so there's a financial risk there. There's our social or livelihood, everything is at risk with our business, like a lot of other people do. So some of the status quo that you're kind of coming against it's a system that's been built over decades and years to be a certain way, and it is that certain way, but that doesn't necessarily make it the right way. It's just the way that it is. And so I think it's important that we, no matter what sector of life or business that we're in, that we take a step back and look at what you're in, whether that's a system or business, and this is the way that it is, but is this how it should be? And we said, no, it wasn't. And so that's why we picked something different. And this model allows us we're just able to help people. We're there to be there for them. There's no one really telling us no. It's us just finding ways to help people better and better. And whether that's helping them feel better physically or help them save money financially, it's the healthcare system doesn't really make sense financially. And if you look at it from a business standpoint, economical standpoint, from supply, demand, and fixed cost and variable cost, like people can't give you answers. When you talk to CFOs and CEOs of hospitals, and no one knows the answer to find out why does this cost this much. It's hard to get a true answer. And where did that come from? Well, that was the price that was negotiated. That's essentially and it just doesn't make sense. And so there's even, besides just us, this is a national movement. It's kind of a grassroots movement of physicians. In Oklahoma, there's a surgery center that does cash only as well. And people are flying there from around the nation because it's saving them so much money to have surgery there, because they can call and get an exact price. And whereas through your insurance company, you can call 10 different people and get 10 different answers about what it's going to cost. And then after it's all said and done, you get a bill that's completely different than what you got told.
Man, you're really hitting it, man. I'm so glad. I can't get over how important this is. So, I mean, we got to have this fella on here as much as you want to be, because it's just such a big need. But I think the rock throwing, you were able to overcome those things, and that's something we've encountered, and it is hard to break the mold, but it's the only way to come up with the next thing. It's like, Martin Luther going against selling indulgences, 500 years ago. Well, we have to kind of do that every so often. So you're doing that your own way, and I just want to encourage you. I mean, we got lots of questions, but how are we doing on time?
Good. We got about a minute and a half for this next break. The thing that taps into this for me, the thing that I see here that I want our listeners and our viewers to see is innovation.
Yes.
And that's what you're tapping into, right? When you see a problem in culture that stirs your spirit and you burn for that thing, you go, I got to do something about this.
Yeah.
Where does that come from, right? God planted that thing in you for you to be the solution, right? This is that U-shaped hole in history that we talk about. So, Stephen, how have you seen that? We got just a few minutes here, and what are your thoughts on that thing?
God talks to us and speaks to us in different ways, and I think the way that kind of got set in me was by God sending me my wife. She's very black and white. It's either right or wrong, and she has that very strong conviction. And so when I met my wife, wasn't as on a straight arrow about a lot of things. I hadn't picked that one channel that I was following. And her getting into my life with her straight black and white, it's either right or wrong, really fixed a lot of those things and set my heart in a better direction.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. We'll come back. We'll have you join us in another segment and kind of wrap up some stuff. Are you good with that?
Oh, fine.
Okay, cool. We got to go to break here in a second. Guys, this is Dr. Stephen Sasser. He and his wife are Tidal Wellness right here in Mayfair in Wilmington, North Carolina. I've really enjoyed this. We're going to dive into more after this. You're listening to and watching Wake Up Our Faith in Business. Back for more right after this. Hello, and welcome back to Wake Up Our Faith in Business, the show dedicated to helping you live fully and freely in who you have been called and created to be by God in between Sundays, where you spend the most of your time, that is in business. Joined in studio today by Dr. Stephen Sasser of Tidal Wellness. As always, Kevin Adams, Matt Ham here, kicking off this third segment in the second hour. Want to make sure we thank our corporate partners for making this show possible. One of those being Century 21 Swalyer and Associates, Southeastern North Carolina, and I think the Carolinas' largest real estate Century 21 agency. They do great work if you're buying, selling a home, or looking to get into the real estate business. Century 21 Swalyer and Associates. Make sure that you give them a call, 910-256-0021. Great conversation today with Dr. Stephen Sasser. Kevin, I know you had a question. Let's continue this combo.
Yeah, well, I think I like to just kind of stir the pot up and then let this guy just speak to it. But that's that idea. We were talking about it in between in the break. In the context of having rocks thrown at you and having to make hard decisions and that kind of stuff. So you brought up some neat sort of places where you felt like you followed God and advanced His cause through even some what most people might consider simple things like the development of your logo, and so that takes a lot of courage and to go against the grain of culture. So just speak your heart and share that.
So I think a lot of people are afraid of not being politically correct, of saying things that's going to offend someone. And we're about doing what's right. And sometimes that might offend someone, but that's okay if it's what's right. We wanted our patients to know that about our faith, and we put that out there. It's on our website. We don't throw it in people's faces. And we certainly, and we don't ask everyone, hey, what denomination are you in when they walk in the door or anything like that. We treat everyone from all walks of life, no matter their faith. We don't treat anyone any differently. But we wanted people to know that if what they were looking for in a doctor was a Christian doctor, someone who's walking with God, that we were there. And we've had people call us and say, we chose you because I saw that about you on your website, which makes us feel good that we did the right thing. But as we went through the business process, there were certainly things and choices we had to make, like our logo or our name, that we felt we had to do the right thing, but that wasn't necessarily the right business thing. So from our logo, if you see it, the T in our logo is meant to look like a cross. That was very important to us. It didn't have to be a straight cross like you would see on a church, and it could be obscure, but we just wanted that kind of hint of a cross to be there so that people kind of knew. They looked at it and they knew that. And meeting with our marketing teams and things like that, there were a lot of suggestions to not do that. And that's because, there's crosses everywhere. It's kind of overdone. It's hard to be unique. It's, we could do so much cooler things if we went another direction and it would, aesthetically pleasing. And we said, no, this is important that people know who we are and that T has to have a cross in it.
We said no. Yeah, love it, man.
Same thing with picking just the name Tidal Wellness. I could have been a little more egotistical and said Sasser Family Medicine, but it was important to us again so that people saw our name, that it conveyed a message, and that message with wellness is that we're going to be there with them to help them be healthy, not just treat them when they're sick, not just to give medicine and pills, to be there emotionally, to be there spiritually, to be there as their doctor as well and physically. So, again, when you look at wellness, well, wellness can mean there's yoga studios that have wellness in their title. There's counseling services in town that have wellness in their title. So when you see Tidal Wellness, you don't necessarily know that we're a doctor's office. And does that hurt us from a marketing standpoint? I don't know. Maybe that's what we were told it might do. But it was important to us to stay true to that channel that we were on to give the message that we wanted to give.
Yeah. What a great example, man. The heart to do that. We just want to make sure that we convey this. Everybody's got this in them. Everybody's got the ability, desires of the heart that God's given you, that if you delight yourself in Him and you go, He'll give them to you. And these are all meant to honor Him and for you to be satisfied and bless others. And that's what changes a culture, a city, a nation. And so we need a whole lot more folks like Dr. Sasser. And but are there any specific questions that you have that we can get out there so we can help people not just be inspired by these folks, but to come visit?
Yeah, I want to ask one question, and then make sure we land on giving his stuff. Stephen, when did you know in here? Right, and to our radio listeners, I'm pointing to my chest, that thing, right, that spirit. When did you know in you that, man, I ain't going to be able to continue down this path of standard medicine, traditional medicine, whatever? Like, I want people to understand the process, because a lot of times we walk with people who are navigating their desires of their heart, and they think, well, how long is it going to be? Is it going to be 10 years? Is it going to be 5 years? But I want to highlight the idea that God is creating and fulfilling a purpose in you that might not necessarily happened overnight, but it was a thing that was birthed in you. So when did you start to feel that thing that you would now know as this desire to stand against the status quo?
So I've always been more business oriented, more logical oriented. And my undergraduate degree was in healthcare management. I had plans of opening a practice long before I actually became a doctor. Really going back, it's kind of my wife that awoke that in me. I have a tendency of logically explaining things away when they're not maybe ethically, morally correct. Or when I see something, I like, well, in that situation, it was okay because of this. I think we do that. We make excuses a lot. Sure. Well, I would have been nicer then, but this was this was the championship game, so I couldn't be nice for
Right.
that. There's all these excuses that we make that we shouldn't. And again, my wife is so black and white that she kind of, being with her kind of hit me upside the head and got me back where, hey, no, that's not right. And I need to stop making logical excuses. It's what's in your heart that matters. Yeah. The other piece of that was just, again, seeing my wife when someone that you love so much, to see them hurt because of the system they were in and hurt emotionally because they can't give the care they want to give. That spoke to me more than what was going on directly with me, and made me reflect on my career as a physician as well. So
yeah,
that's what's going to matter in 1,000 years from now.
Yeah.
about his life. It is that what he just said. That's fantastic. I know you got another question.
And just to put context around, how long have you guys been married now?
6.5 years.
Yeah. So I mean, the thought process is that there's a journey that you've been on, that all along the way God's been putting like cornerstone, little markers that have led you to this point. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to make sure that we encourage our listeners that, along this process. You don't have to have it all figured out. Like we said in the first hour,
That's right.
how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? How the logic thing, right?
Yeah.
God offends our logic.
He does.
And provides us an opportunity to trust him, and then it ends up being better than we imagined in the first place.
Yeah, you don't see much logic in Scripture. All the breakthroughs come through, at the behest of God's will, not logic. Walls of Jericho, etc. So, but when you're wired that way, He did that on purpose. So to even go against that momentarily, so that you can reapply that and have it all work together. I mean, that's an extra dose of courage.
Yeah,
So
beautiful picture. Well,
congrats,
Dr. Sasser.
man.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we're just huge proponents of you guys, of what you're doing. As we kind of wrap up your time with us on the show today, make sure our listeners know how they can connect with you and where they can learn more if they want to come and kind of meet with you guys, or what that process looks like.
Sure. So the best place for information is our website, www.tidalwellness.com, and that's TIDAL. We also are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can email us, info@tidalwellness.com, and you can call us 910-302-8002. If you're not sure about our model, we do free meet and greets. So it's no cost. You can just call, make an appointment. We'll talk with you, help explain it, see if it's right for you. We also have an open house on March 19th, and there'll be about 15 vendors or so there.
Yeah.
At our office is in Building 3 in Mayfair.
Reconnect with us before that March date, just so we can make sure our listeners are aware if anybody's local that wants to come out to that.
Sure.
I'm going to hold you to that because my brain, it'll be out there. But Kev, anything to wrap up? We got like 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you from heart to heart. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for coming on and just giving us another example to put God's will on display in our community. Thanks.
Well, I appreciate being invited.
Yeah, Dr. Sasser, thanks so much. Guys, we have one more segment on today's Wake Up Our Faith in Business. Many thanks to Dr. Sasser and Tidal Wellness. Matt and Kevin, back for more right after this. Hello, and welcome back to Wake Up Our Faith in Business. Matt Ham, Kevin Adams, wrapping up. And what a great show today. I just got to say that. Just from top to bottom, all the way around, just felt really good. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Appreciate you guys joining us. We are live in the Standard Glass Studios here at Wilmington's Big Talker, 106.7 FM. Many thanks to Dr. Stephen Sasser. He and his wife, Dr. Lamphier. That she kept Lamphier her maiden name, I believe, just and if folks are looking, just to make sure they make that distinction. But Tidal Wellness, Kev, what I love about it so much is God continues to confirm and reveal in relationships what we have felt and are seeing about the move of God in this city and in the world to change the model that we have consistently become kind of captive by almost.
Yeah, yeah. Our the old way is over, and we're not just saying that. We're living it out and pushing those fence posts out a little further every day and week and month. And it's hard because people do throw rocks, and but I think the greatest thing, aside from helping people and encouraging and mentoring, teaching, all of that, is to bring examples in of people who are doing it as well. And so we support that.
Yes.
Because this is our Faith in Business hour. So it's just a great thing to have launched recently, and God just keeps bringing people who they're ready. They're ready for the new way to do this, to live it out. So.
Yeah, it's beautiful to me because once you see it expressed in other people, you just know it. And so part of this is a recognition, as you say, there's no junior Holy Spirit.
That's right.
When you recognize, when the Spirit recognizes it itself, it's like, across, hey man, there you are, I see you, It's like when I run into you at like Panera randomly or something, it's like, hey, there's Kevin. You see that in people.
Right.
You feel it. You feel it. And so wanting to highlight these people that are living this way is really a big part of our cause.
Yeah.
And really become a champion for these folks and just say that, hey, this is the way it's moving, and we want to be on the forefront of that. So to our listeners, if you have somebody that you know of that's an entrepreneur, a business owner, just somebody who's living uncharacteristically outside of the box, pursuing that thing that God placed in them, Tell us about it. Like, let us know. We want to
Yeah.
become like a conduit for that type of stuff.
Yeah, don't send people that are afraid to alienate their clients, though, because
Right.
you're going to do it.
Kevin,
You're going to do it.
Kevin might.
I will.
Oh,
Well,
man.
so Chick-fil-A, that great example that they've got people lined up around the block at noontime. They're not afraid, and so we hold them in high regard of just a courageous business model that lives out their faith, and they do it through innovation and excellence and great service. And man, Jesus is all over that place. So you got other places. Yeah, we don't want to. We're going to alienate, and our customers, they don't really want to hear about Jesus. Well, so don't bring those people. I'm
Right.
saying it.
Well,
We just don't share that.
It's wrapped in a dishonoring
Yes.
of the glory of God.
That's right.
He created us not to live segregated,
That's right.
parceled off lives.
That's right.
Where we go, I'm a Christian, but that's fear.
Right.
It's absolutely and completely fear. And as long as you're letting fear drive your business decisions, they will never be wise.
That's right. There's no wisdom in that.
We talked about the first hour, Kevin, the question was, can I fulfill my life's purpose without fully surrendering to God? And the answer, of course, was absolutely not. Yeah. And yet people go, well, I've got this great business and, it's successful. And it's like, great, but it will be dust if it doesn't have eternity in mind.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's the thing that we do when we walk by sight. And again, it kind of goes back to this whole accidental thing. I mean, look, accidental hypocrisy is still hypocrisy.
Right.
You run a stop sign on accident and kill somebody, it's still a bad thing. So, we need to recognize that, but we also need to understand the heart of it, so we can grab hold of it and start walking it out in a different way. Faith in business does not mean that you have to preach from your desk. And whatever that looks like in that weird place, it's just not that. It is living out the desires of your heart through your gift set, through the passions God put in you to live and bless other people. You already have genius in you.
Yeah.
And most people are vocationally attempting to exercise that or to employ that. So we help you do that. We help you reconcile your faith in your business life. You can do it, and we'll get you to the finish line, and that really matters. So this isn't Tony Robbins and John Maxwell or even Dave Ramsey, who we love. We will spend individual time with you, walking it out with you. And, these other guys, the famous people, they're not going to do that. But we will. So there's a big difference there. But anyway, that's all I had on that.
One of the things that I remember Dr. Sasser said that was really powerful is when he was in traditional medicine, he did not have the time to spend with the people that needed it because it was a system that said, let us get to the next person.
Yeah.
That is what has happened in culture with both religious institutions and these personal development gurus because there's this machine that's been created that we have to keep up with. Right. And the number one thing that's preventing true discipleship is the ability to spend one-to-one time with people to go through their individual needs.
That's right.
And that's the thing that Kevin, you have been gifted to do and will do to anybody who's hungry. Yeah. And so when you see these parallels of, man, in culture, people aren't getting the medical attention they need because doctors don't have time. People aren't getting the spiritual counsel they need because, churches and pastors, they don't have time. What we're trying to do is restore and redeem that time. Yeah. And that's what God does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the parable that I'm not talking biblical parable, but it's an old story, and I'll butcher it. But there's a guy that he was just hanging out on an island and he fished and he loved it. He did that every day, and he had a boat and a way to fish, and he did that, and that's what he did. So because he was successful, he was catching fish. Someone come along and said, "Hey, if you doubled your boats, you could increase your resources, income, and et cetera." So he thought, well, why not? And so he listened to that, which is kind of the worldview of, it's all about business. It's all about gain and that instead of peace of mind. But ultimately, in the story, the guy got lots of boats and all this, and he was spending all his time doing everything he didn't want to do so that he could eventually get back to do what he actually wanted to do, which was just fish.
Yes.
Just fish. So for Dr. Sasser and his family and his business, they went back to just fishing, which is caring for people.
Yes.
And the heart of that is the brilliance of Jesus, and that's what we want to promote. It's not preaching from your desk. It's living out who you are.
Yeah, I love it. It reminds me, I have a friend who they were a pastor, and they just left. They just stepped down after being the, whatever you would call it, in that position for 20-some years. And I asked them, I said, why did that happen? And they said, I found myself spending 90% of my time with Christian people talking about processes and organizational services and all this kind of stuff. And I'm seriously like, so you left because 90% of your time was spent around believers talking about creating process. And I was like, wow, that's eye-opening. That's eye-opening. So we have to pay attention to the move of God that's getting back to spending time being who you are doing what it is that only you can do.
Yeah. Well, that's right. A lot of times God has left the building and the preaching goes on. But you are the building that he lives in, and that's straight up scripture. So if you believe that and stand on that, look, this is an amazing life you can live. So, but where do you spend most of your time in business? We also want to promote the Life Center.
Yes.
While we got a chance here.
Yeah, that's our nonprofit entity and organization that is about eradicating spiritual poverty here in the city of Wilmington by truly discipling people, helping them uncover their genius and live it out in the world.
Yeah.
We of course, a nonprofit, so you guys can partner with us in that endeavor.
Yeah.
We've got great resources to be able to do that.
Well, our one-on-one discipleship, mentoring, coaching, all kinds of modalities within that. It's a tax-deductible donation, but so you help what we're doing, but you get an amazing service to help transform your life.
And it also allows you to sponsor and partner with people who can receive this encouragement on a daily basis. So it's about outreach and giving back. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on there. You can check that out at our site, youprint.life, youprint.life. Kevin, great show today. Before we close, I have to recognize Dr. Greg Veman, Seacoast Skin Surgery, one of our partners here. Dr. Veman has his ministry, Everlasting Strength, 910-256-2100. Many thanks, Dr. Veman.
Thanks,
Kev,
Greg.
Thanks today, brother. That was awesome. Appreciate you guys being here. We will see you next week for Wake Up Our Faith.